And CFX Download is back. I'm Amy McLean, editorial director of CableFax, and I'm here with my colleague Noah Ziegler. And we have some special guests with us today. Really excited to have the Cable Hall of Famer, Lou Borelli, here.
26 in the house.
Lou is the president and CEO of NCTC, the National Content and Technology Cooperative, which represents more than 700 broadband and cable operators. They provide strategic support and they have cooperative purchasing power for video content, broadband transit, and VNO services, and a lot more. We'll get into some of that. And also joining us is Grant Spellmeyer, who leads ACA Connects. That's an association that represents many of the same operators as NCTC on the Hill, at the FCC, and at other federal agencies. And ACA, which stands for America's Communication Association, works to ensure that independent operators' voices are heard. So it's really nice to have you both here, because something really big is about to happen later this month. Your annual conference, the Independent Show, is set for July 26th through 29th in Orlando.
Not just Orlando, Amy. We're going to Disney World.
Oh, I am corrected. It is
There is a difference.
Well, despite the whimsical locale, there is some serious business to be covered at the show. But before we get to that, you got to have a little fun. Lou and Grant, which Disney characters are you going to be chasing down to get your photo with?
Who are those two chipmunks? They were there last time and I enjoyed them.
Chip and Dale.
Chip and Dale, that's what I thought.
Chip and Dale. That's us.
Amy, you may recall I was very early in my tenure at ACA the last time we visited Disney. So
He was
the
still
whole thing
on probation.
The whole thing was quite an experience the last time we were there, and I'm excited to get back. And the one thing that does stick with me were Chip and Dales.
Mm-hmm.
Lou, Maleficent, is that who you're going after? The villains? Or
Goofy.
what's your...
I'm just goofy. We're
Nice.
sneezy. We're wimpy. Whatever.
We expect to see either a photo or Lou, it's that, or you have to play a set on the drums again. So either one of those two will be fine.
That is one of those things that is happening. Yes.
Well, it's going to be fun to get all the Disney experience, as well as just getting together or seeing the industry get together again. So what are we going to be talking about at this year's Independent Show?
Oh man, what are we not going to be talking about? I mean, the tagline, imagination meets innovation. I mean, we're in the perfect spot. I could make a joke about being at the Walt Disney World. It's inside the walled garden, for those of you that remember what those were. But honestly, as I like to say, from a national standpoint, there are a handful of analysts that always write about the industry, but they only write about the 2 or 3 companies that report publicly. Our members are the rest of the industry. And I think that the challenges that they face are the same as our cousins in Stanford or in Philadelphia. And we have a lot to talk about in terms of how our solutions collectively provide an easier path for their success. I'm in the operational swim lane, and we've got all the various piece parts that Amy talked about with our marketplace and some of our solutions. Grant's swim lane is to keeping me out of jail and figuring out, the policy that others would be proposing. How does that affect our small independent operators? Right, my brother?
You got it. I'm a predictable sort of guy, but we will try to, in terms of what I talk about, but we will try to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Mm-hmm. Well, outside of keeping Grant or Lou, I guess both of you guys outside of Disney jail, which I'm pretty sure that actually exists. I haven't been since I was a wee baby, but obviously many issues impact a far and wide industry. And one of the things that the independent show provides is being able to dive into those topics with experts and leaders across the industry who are able to draw from their experiences. But speaking of experience, you're getting an experience beyond the show too. In my first time attending independent show was 2 years ago in Nashville, and last year I went when it was out in Salt Lake City. And juggling the conference and exploring some of the sites can be tricky for those first time attendees. And I feel like Disney only does exacerbates that. So what's something you guys think first time attendees should really make sure they don't miss out on this year?
Well, we have some great keynotes, and look, we appreciate the fact that we're in a beautiful place and there's a lot of distractions, and frankly, a lot of guests come along. A lot of our members use this as an opportunity for a family vacation. But the keynotes that we have lined up this year really speak to where our focus is, whether it's in AI or policy or how things are changing with various generations of, using video, using broadband. All of that is very important. But what's most important, aside from Grant and I and our fashion costume changes, is peers talking to peers. I remember my first independent show in person, which was Grant's as well. There are a lot more experts on stage, and over the years we still bring in experts, but what we found out is that we have experts in our own family, in our own house, and so the members actually rate the highest the networking opportunities and the peer-to-peer meetings, because if you're a small to mid-size operator and you're really not sold on mobile, or you're not really sure about IPTV, and you see somebody up there who runs a company it's the same size as yours and they're doing it all, that's more impactful than whatever Grant or I say on stage. So we try to set the table and get out of the way, frankly. If we're good at it, that's what we do. If we're bad at it, we stay up there and nobody wants to hear us.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, I don't think anybody's coming to listen to me. They're coming to listen to, I'm going to do two important keynotes from my perspective, and both of those are fireside chats, one with Commissioner Trusty and the other with Jim Holanda, the new CEO of Cable One. And I asked both of them to join me because as I reflected on who I'd like to talk to, those were frankly, the first two names that came out of my mouth, and they both graciously agreed to appear. And so that's why we have what we have there. I've known Commissioner Trusty for more than a decade now. And, we've struggled in recent years, as you've covered my side of the show, to get high profile policymakers to the independent show. Occurring in the dead of summer outside of Washington, D.C. is always a challenge. And I'm really excited that Commissioner Trusty agreed to come down to Disney and to devote some time to what I think will be a pretty good overview of what she sees coming for the remainder of this year and into next year. And of course, Jim has a long track record of success, including at Astound, and has now made the jump over to Cable One. And I think he brings I love a CEO who's also interested in policy, and he's one of those guys. From the very first time I met him, he asks insightful policy questions, and I think we'll have a good discussion about how the impediments that exist at the various government levels need to be addressed by policymakers. And I hope to get a little look under the hood as to how things are going at Cable One and what he's experienced to date.
Yeah. And, Noel Russell, who founded the AI Leadership Institute, is our opening keynote, and she'll be on a panel as well. One of the things we figured out, and, Amy and I have been at these shows forever, right? And there's always like a cringe moment when you say, and now we'll take questions from the audience. Nobody seems to know where the mic is. People won't give the mic up. So we do this thing now where we have a keynote, and then we have a panel with the keynote. So the questions come from the panelists who have been, obviously picked because they're smart and they're into the topic. So I'm looking forward to that. We have a father and son team of David and Jonah Stillman. And the only thing I can say that would maybe resonate is if any of you are followers and fans like I am of Evan Shapiro, he always speaks about the fact that you should never make a decision in 2026 in a room where there isn't someone under 35 present. And so we have the father and son who are going to be going through the various generational changes and challenges in the new world. And then as a bonus, we have Jimmy Zawalski from ESPN. It's going to be a blast. He is he's a great guy. They're a very important partner of ours, and we're going to be speaking a lot about what they're doing with Unlimited and other things. And we'll obviously touch on the whole sports rights issues and those kinds of stuff. So, if you do nothing else, if you're asking me, I'd say make sure you get to the general sessions. But if you're really there, you want to go to the breakouts where your peers will be telling you exactly what they're doing, how they do it, why they did it this way versus that way. I mean, they're still our highest rated sessions, or just the breakouts where they network and listen to peers.
I have to say I am very excited about Jimmy Z. And I'm a little bit surprised, having been to a lot of these shows and hearing a lot of anger about programming costs and retrans fees. I just kind of was like, oh, programmers won't come. They won't be on the stage. And yet you have someone, and you have a big guy here. Is he walking into the lion's den?
Not at all. I mean, look, I've been doing this 50 years, as you know. There's always been a healthy tension. And I would say it's a healthy tension between the distributor and the content creator. And over the years, the balance of power, if you will, has shifted, to nobody's surprise. I think, to be fair, ESPN and Fox as well, with Fox One and now ESPN Unlimited, being made available to our members' customers at no charge. If you're a video customer, you get ESPN Unlimited. You get authenticated. Same thing with Fox One. And I think that shift in value is something our members should really take full advantage of. And we've got hundreds of them already signed up. There is a sign up and an authentication process, and it takes a while, but we're at like 160 going hard toward however many want it. I mean, I can't tell you exactly how many members are in our Disney deal. It's obviously several hundred. And they're all eligible to take advantage of that value build. And the same thing with Fox. So, yes, there have been some contentious conversations in the past. I wasn't here for them, so I can't take the blame or the credit. But I think Jimmy's going to be welcomed, and he's going to sit with Judy and I, and we're going to have a nice chat.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. And I also think that was some interesting news, because I'm not sure I realized NCTC had a deal for some of that, for the authentication. So I hope that some of your operators talk a little bit about the process.
I think they will. I mean, I'll be fair. We have all the same rights that Charter and Comcast have. Okay. Now, we pay a little different price, but the spread is not as big as it used to be in the old days, where you had TCI up here and we're down here. I would say safely, the last round of linear negotiations generated very good results for both sides. Rates are sort of flattening. We're getting more flexibility. Certain channels that maybe were added 15, 20 years ago, and you had to take this and you had to take that in order to get the deal, they're now being moved aside. So we're getting better rate protection, better flexibility. And now with these added value services, I think it helps solidify, for those members that still like the cable experience, the value of the bundle, which, as you know, has really been inflated more by retransmission consent than anything else. But, it's still a major component of what we do. And we're there to support it as long as people want to have it.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating too, because I feel like a few years ago, some of your members were kind of like, we don't care about video. It's not our thing. And
Mhm.
it feels like some of them maybe are coming back around a little bit with some of the changes in the video landscape.
Well, and that'll be an interesting conversation between Jim and Grant because Cable One was one of the first large companies that said broadband first, and they were just letting programming go. WoW's done the same thing. There's been a few others. Um, our members, for the most part, if they're exiting video, they're very small.
Huh.
I'm talking like 2 digits small or 3 digits small. We've seen some success with people who have introduced our broadband TV package as an added value to their broadband service. We've seen success with our mobile business being essentially providing continuity of connectivity. And so, look, in this game, you've got to be willing to try anything and everything to maintain a competitive stance, to be a valuable provider to your local community. As you've heard me say before, our member superpower is that they're local. They know everybody and everybody knows them. And so when you start looking at, well, how can a cable guy sell a mobile phone? Well, we have Comcast and Charter to thank for that. They made it okay. They plowed the field. And now when you ask members, which we do, and we ask consumers in our members markets, what's your, proclivity to buying from a local provider? And the overwhelming, response is we'd much rather buy from our local provider. So, it's taken a while to get unfolded and we're still rolling out. We've added a second MVNE and it's going like gangbusters. But, it takes some courage if it's not one of your core products from way back when, right? And there are competing, agendas, et cetera. Some people say, no, I got to finish my build up before I can start doing other things. And it's okay, because it's a marathon. We're going to be here as long as they are, and whatever they need, we'll sort it out.
Lou, another hot topic, and I don't know if you can qualify it as healthy contention, but it's definitely contentious nowadays, is artificial intelligence. What updates can you provide on NCTC's work on AI, and are there any use cases that have emerged? I'm curious for the latest on your guys' end.
So we came out a while ago and said we were establishing an AI center of excellence. We had 4 pilots in the market, 4 different use cases, and they ran for a number of weeks. We gathered the data, and a couple of weeks ago, we presented our findings to our board with a request for a go, no-go going forward. They voted overwhelmingly, unanimously to go forward. And so we are now operationalizing what was a pilot into something that will now serve the membership. And the way I describe it is, we've put up the money to do the pilots. We are now putting up the money on a second tranche to stand up the platform and make it available. Our members have the ability to pick and choose from the original curated use cases, business cases, and it's available to them on a subscription basis. Like, they don't have to put up a lot of money up front. It'll be more of a subscription type thing. And as we continue to evolve, we'll add more use cases and we'll do more business cases and do ROI analysis on their behalf. And, we'll have other vendors. I mean, we got vendors that weren't in our program that are saying, hey, how do I get into this? It takes time, but, we have a high level of interest. The members that were in the pilot will be on stage talking about what they did, how they did it, what do they like, what they didn't. I mean, and it's everything from you can do predictive outages. It's pretty typical. We have a chat bot, which is both voice and digital. We had what's the right term? Oh, installation avoidance, like people who are proclivity for canceling, you do this outreach and you reschedule and all that. That's part of the chatbot. So, these are all telecom or cable based uses that we tested. There are a lot more that we could be doing. The question becomes, what's the right mix? And oh, by the way, we can always add and delete as we go along. So it's a living thing. And I think you know this, but the most important thing to make it work well is that the members' data has got to be scrubbed and in good shape. So while we're getting ready, we're going back to our members saying, here's what you need to do with your data. Here's what you need to do. And we provide all the guidance and the security and all that stuff. It's been quite a project, and I'm happy the board approved it because, to be honest, with the exception of our largest members, this is the only way the bulk of the co-op is going to have any access to significant AI to help them with their business. So you'll hear us talk a lot about that.
That's some pretty exciting news. I'm looking forward to hearing more
Yeah.
on. And speaking of news, Grant, ACA Connects made some news this week right before we, I think yesterday, you announced that your summit, which was this event you've been holding for 20 some years in Washington D.C., you would have some high level Washington Beltway speakers, and then you'd have a day of lobbying. You're going to shift that to just 3 fly-ins a year, and you're getting rid of that conference aspect. Can you talk a little bit about why you're doing that? And will we see any of those summit components maybe move to the independent show?
Um, I would love to talk about it, Amy. Thanks for asking. I look at this like I am tripling down on DC. Instead of bringing our members in once a year in March, I want to spec there more frequently. And the best way to do that is to shift kind of consistent with what's been going on in the Washington lobbying environment for a while. Congress's schedule has been less predictable than it used to be. The State of the Union address, which used to be, rather reliably be in the last week of January, has started to drop all over the place in the spring, along with government shutdowns and various other challenges, spring blizzards that have made me really want to be on the ground in DC with the members on a more frequent basis. So we're going to do 3 of these a year. We're going to try to do one in somewhere in the March timeframe, somewhere in the June, July timeframe, and one in the fall. And as the congressional cycle varies between an election year and a non-election year. And so we're going to try to take all those factors into account. I still hope to have some very high-level speakers and meetings, but we're going to spread it out a little bit and mix it up. Sometimes, you may see a focus one time on the Senate, the next time on the House, the next time on the administration. We're going to see how it plays out a little bit. I do think there's an opportunity. Lou and I have started to talk about what the independent show looks like next year, because planning is already underway for that. And I think there's a joint desire for a little more educational component to that. So I think you will see some of that shift over to them. But as I talked with my chairman, Patty Boyers, about this, her line was, "This is like the state fair; it's bigger and better every year." And we are by no means pulling back from Washington. I want to do an even more effective job of making sure that we're there frequently, and we're there in numbers. Yes, I'm on the Hill all the time, but I'd like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 of my members with me. And we just think this provides a little more flexibility. The cost of hosting a big summit in a big hotel in DC is considerable. And we're going to try to use that to better target our advocacy.
Yeah, Amy, think of it this way. My poor friend Grant, he has this one big meeting in March, and you don't know if they're going to be in or out of session. And so I give you my analogy. How many people do you think would sign up for the independent show only to find out that there's a chance that Disney may be closed? You show up and the park is closed. Well, if you show up in DC and Congress isn't in session, whoops, So we fully support what Grant is doing. We'll continue to be involved. And, as you know, we're joined at the hip here. It's best for him. It means it's best for our members. It's best for us.
Grant, you just mentioned the volatility of congressional cycles, and just the control of Congress, especially in the near future, is uncertain. What message is ACA Connects going to deliver at this year's show, given that uncertainty and that kind of ambiguous future?
Well, I think I agree with you. The outlook for control of Congress is up in the air. We've been through this before. Maybe this time feels a little more uniquely up in the air because it keeps shifting given Supreme Court decisions on redistricting and the various personalities of various candidates. But I would say my message is that ACA has a long history of bipartisan advocacy in Washington. And so I am not preparing for a Republican controlled world or a Democrat controlled world. I'm preparing to continue to deal with both sides of the aisle on an ongoing basis. And, the key to that is a little bit of what Lou talked about. It's our members' local presence in communities, and the fact that we are out there and we are the hometown provider, and we do things just as well as the big guys do in the local communities. And there's a lot of change going on in Washington, and I can't predict to you very well who will control any particular seat in the United States Senate next year, but we're going to be ready for both sides. And this is part of, what we will talk about along with our continuing focus. Either way, we're going to want to fix permitting so broadband can continue to go out. We're going to still be concerned either way about the C-band transition and how that will play out in light of the next auction. And, we're still got a whole video advocacy agenda that we do need Congress to work on either way. And none of those issues are going to get done in Congress without bipartisan support. It's got to get through both houses, and then the president has to sign something. But it is interesting times, and we will certainly have some breakout sessions where we'll touch on some of the, the more nuanced political stuff. But I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I was happy to hear you mention a minute ago that you're already working on next year's show. That makes me happy, having been to a lot of independent shows, maybe all of them. It's no secret that this business has changed a lot over the years. I'm curious to hear how what keeps the independent show going as the operator community consolidates.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm most concerned about. As I've said, the one thing that is probably our biggest threat is consolidation, only because as we look at our makeup of our cooperative, we do have some significantly sized members, and we've had a couple that have already been acquired. And when they drop out of the co-op, it does have an impact on us. Now, it's not life-threatening, but you can read, you read the writing on the wall. So we will be continuing our effort to not only serve the members we have, but also to go talk to the other 1,500 ISPs that are not members. So we've been working on member development for about a year now. It's a relatively new department. We've been making some great progress, and we're picking up a lot of members. But you're going to see us start being more aggressive in terms of probably, exhibiting at like the FBA or Metro Connect, or, I have a saying, you fish where the fish are. Our members are going to these other shows. Now they still come to ours, but as you've seen over the last year or two, if there is a conference that has BEAD, broadband, or streaming in the title, and all you have to do is write a check to show up, a lot of people go. But we know from our experience and our research that our members value the networking and the environment in which they are free to talk about whatever they're working on and what they're doing. All of their trusted vendor partners are there. We have significant support still from the programming community, and it's a complete show. It's what I call the old NCTA show, right? And we'll continue to expand on that. We have the Marketing Innovators Group the day before. We've got, I think, 65 or 70 already registered for that. It's a day-long thing just for marketers. It's going to be heavy on AI, heavy on go-to-market. And we have these different user groups. You got the Plume users group. You got the TiVo users group. You've got a variety of, and again, it's members coming together, not to listen to me or Grant, other than we get up and say, thanks for coming, but it's for the peers to be able to share ideas and, frankly, things that worked and things that didn't work. So, our existence is important because the communities we serve have been historically neglected or overlooked. We tend to deliver technology that's comparable with any market in the country, programming access as anybody else does. And, we're in mobile, we're going into AI, we're in IP transit and transport with circuits and middle mile stuff. I mean, we're doing everything we can so that whether you're a company of 1,000 customers or a company of 1 million customers, we have solutions that have been vetted and proven and negotiated that you can take advantage of. And that's all we can do. I can lay awake at night wondering who's going to buy X, Y, and Z, but until it happens, I got to keep doing the job that I'm supposed to do.
Well, I think we're about out of time here, but I want to thank both of our guests. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to writing Space Mountain with Grant and Lou in a few weeks, and I'll be sure to report back who screams the loudest.
Yeah.
I'm going to bet.
Let's bring Noah along.
One thing I didn't mention, we're doing this different this year. So we're ending on Tuesday at about 4:00. We have special tickets that have never been issued by Disney. The park is open from 4 to 10, and we've got deeply discounted tickets just for that night. Because my idea was, well, everybody's coming here for the conference, but they're also coming for the show. If we don't give them an opportunity to go after hours, then they're going to be cutting out of our sessions during the day because they're all brought family. So for first timers, this is a very special thing. But Tuesday night, the park will be ours. Not ours exclusively, but we get in very much cheaper than you normally pay, and everything's open. So we're looking forward to that. One less dinner for Grant and I to get up and have to say some speech.
I want to hear Mickey Mouse's opinions on broadband permitting.
We will make that happen.
They do have a railroad in Disney World, so I don't know if there's any problem with getting that. Well,
hopefully the broadband is working.
Maybe we'll have to film live from the park in a couple weeks. But
there you go.
Thank you for being here. That's all for us today. You can find all our episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And you can find all our breaking news over at cablefax.com. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.